Wasn't feeling sorry for myself. Was just I couldn't take it anymore. I simply couldn't take it anymore, and I wanted it to end. I didn't want to be around anymore. I just wanted to expire at that specific moment.
Welcome back. This is episode 3 of the Marcus Talks What's the Point podcast. This week we've got an amazing guest. His name is Darryn Scott. Darryn's a very old friend of mine, back from probably about 2011. Today he's shared some amazing stories with us. So without further ado, let's delve into the podcast for you. Welcome, Darryn. How's it going, mate? How are you?
Good, really good. Thanks for having me.
It's great. So, to everyone that's tuned in and that's listening right now, Darryn's an old friend of mine, and I thought I'd kind of start off these podcasts with bringing on some close friends. And just people that I've connected with over the years. And Darryn's become a really good friend of mine. So I already know quite a lot of his backstory, the challenges that he's been through. And that's probably one of the reasons why I've suggested him to come on, because he's got some really kind of touching stuff and really deep stuff that he's been through. So welcome, Darryn, and thanks for agreeing to come on. Why don't you?
It's a real honor.
Yeah,
genuinely. Yeah, it's a real honor, dude. Honestly, I think what you're doing is amazing.
Well, thank you.
I think it's amazing. I really do. I think it's a fantastic thing.
Thank you, mate. For the people that don't know you, do you want to kind of start off and kind of tell us a bit about yourself, just to introduce yourself to everyone?
Well, I'm 41 years of age. You'll never guess this one, but I'm Irish. Surprisingly, yeah, twiddly-dee. And anyway, I'm 41. I've born and raised in Ireland and in Dublin, and I've had just a kind of a checkered life, really. It's been a colourful one, and it's been largely challenging from day one, really. And I'm a musician most of my life. I've been in the arts one way or another all my life, but largely as a musician, and a period of time as an actor, and being a producer, songwriter, performer, guitarist and synthesizers and stuff like that. Pretty much my whole life.
Well, I know this personally, that you're a bit of a multi-talented guy. So well done on that front, mate. And obviously, I know more than anyone, some of the challenges that you've been through. So maybe take us back to your early life and what kind of kid you were. And
great, yeah. So I'm pretty similar now to the way I was when I was a kid. I was adventurous and always sort of full of life and full of gusto and full of beans, I had a lot of hyperactivity that's kind of been reined in over the years, and a bit more balanced than that. I think always kind of, my mind was always going 100 miles an hour, and just bouncing off walls and that kind of just, but like real creative. I always kind of had a smile, which I always kind of wondered about that one, because it was not a happy childhood at all. But I always had a smile, and I think that's kind of, I'm naturally an optimistic guy. It's just I was born with optimism. There's always a way out of this, or surely.
You sound to me like you may have been identified as a bit of a naughty kid, being so busy. Were you the class clown, or were you a good kid?
So here's the thing. So in school, or in schools, as you'll find out as the story progresses, I was in many different schools. I wasn't I wasn't bold. I wasn't like a naughty boy, but I was very, very dyslexic, and they love to label shit, and
Yeah.
that. But when I was a kid, dyslexia in Ireland was not a thing they really knew anything about. So I was seen as a kid who didn't pay attention in class. I would never talk back or disrespect. I was a really excellent manners and stuff like that, but I was hyper. I was giddy and very easily distracted. So teachers may have kind of liked me, but they struggled with me because I couldn't keep my focus. I didn't understand what was going on in school. I didn't understand what I was being taught. I was in these big classrooms and I just didn't have a clue. So yeah, my schooling was bad. It was not good in terms of my education and in terms of my just socially. It was a
Mm.
bad experience. It
Was
was
that
just
was that
bad.
was that something that maybe your parents picked up on, that you were bad in school, or were they kind of helpful with that, or?
My parents, I feel for them because it was, oh man, you know what? How do you condense this one down? Essentially, my dad, my dad, my dad and my mom tried their best in a very limited way that they had in terms of resources. It was very ignorant at that time. Ireland was quite an ignorant place in terms of helping kids. You were just a bad kid. You
Yeah.
didn't. It was no such thing as ADHD. There was no such thing as, or certainly that it was. There was no understanding. There was no understanding. So dyslexia, never mind. Any of the other really big struggles that kids had, with ADHD or with Asperger's or any of these kinds of um, issues that kids have these days. You were just either a good kid or a bad kid.
Yeah.
This is within my own personal experience. I'm not saying this is how it was for other people. It's just from my own experience. So with dyslexia, you just didn't do your work. You didn't know what was going on, so you're stupid and you were bad. You're just a bad kid and made an example of. Simple as that.
Yeah.
But I wasn't misbehaving, so I wasn't talking back or anything. So teachers would be trying to figure out how to best deal with me because, since it was kind of a weird one, so some teachers would take the time to try and sit down and help me, but they'd kind of end up essentially giving up because it wasn't going in. It wasn't going in.
I suppose this is where we need to give praise to a lot of the teachers, even back then, because they were fed limited into information, and
This is the thing. Yeah.
So they only had their tools available really to deal with what they knew, and a limited amount of time and stuff. So, but this is something that I've come up with obviously my early life and my schooling. There's a sense of blame almost that I carry around with it, but also, because you kind of feel a little bit failed by the system, that kind of thing. But also, it's kind of what makes or breaks us at the end of the day as well. So, all of the things that we harbor as, from my personal experience anyway, being a victim for so long, or branding myself as a victim, you get to a certain age and it's actually the liberation of really, because it's the things that I struggled with, in my early childhood and teens, that have really kind of, they're kind of my skills now that I use for life and money and friends.
There's like you see, this is the thing. See, I suppose when the select few people hear my story, they get quite shocked, really, because it's quite a bad one. It's a nasty story, and I look at it now, or even with my health, which I'm sure we'll delve into at some point, which was extreme and violent in some respects, dealing with certain things. Everything was on an extreme. I went through all of this, and it was just pure hell. That's all it was. There's no sugarcoating or there's no positive. It was just hell. And so there's that side of it. I must acknowledge that side, because I would not have done that years ago. I would have put on a brave face for everybody else's benefit, and possibly maybe my own at times. But to a larger extent, don't bring people down. Keep a smile on the face. Keep strong. Keep trucking on. Kind of nonsense, and totally disregarding how I really felt.
Yeah.
So one side of all of this is just pure hellish. I don't. That's not an over exaggeration. It was pure hell, and with my health and with my sort of childhood, teenage years. But there's the flip side of it. For me, I think I just got to a place in my life where it's like, you know what? Where I am now, or sort of the journey that I started to try and better my life, I started gaining so much from it. And now looking back, I think, how can I don't think I have, I certainly, I'm pretty self-aware as a person. And I don't think I feel, I'm pretty sure that I don't bear any resentments or any, I got very severely bullied, in my life. And it was extreme. Again, it was very, very extreme.
Yeah.
And it was something got so out of hand that it just nearly tore my family apart. It got so bad and so out of control. The schools couldn't deal with it. It was just a mess. And I just look at these situations and I think, I got through them all. I did it myself. My mom helped me. My dad, in his very, 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 very limited ways, tried his best, but he was facing his own demons. And, I just think that I look back and I now am in this position where I see that I've learned so much about myself that I'm grateful. I'm not happy that it happened, but I wouldn't undo a single thing if you paid me. I wouldn't change a thing.
Yeah.
I am grateful that I chose, in a sense, to take these things and make better of myself.
So at what point in your life did you make that journey? Did you choose to use them to turn it around? Because obviously, when we go through hardships in life, and we don't acknowledge that they are hardships, or we do acknowledge that they are hardships, but we don't utilize them to better ourselves. It's quite easy just to kind of bull in a china shop, try and get through life.
Yep.
And it's almost like a coping mechanism, putting that smile on every day. And, because we don't know we don't know what half the people are going through when we look at their smile,
No.
And this is kind of the reason why I'm going to be interviewing loads of different types of people, just to kind of get their story, really. So at what point in your life did you start kind of turning it around and looking at these things as, although
possible,
horrible to go through, the positives? Yeah.
No, but it's a balance. My goodness me, it's a balance, because you cannot never ignore. It's healthy, very healthy to have your moment of despair and dwell and anger and frustration and fear and all of these difficult challenges. But it's getting that balance right and learning that's something I'm doing every day of the week. The turning point for me, in this conversation, only now did I realize it was there was a turning point, and I'm trying to remember exactly when there was, but there were certain, I suppose what happened was maybe around, I don't know, actually. There is a frame of time, certainly. There would have been about maybe I wonder, was it around the time when I. Do you know what? I started reading Michael J. I'm a massive Michael J. Fox fan, as you know,
Yeah.
huge Michael J. Fox fan, and I've always gravitated towards his optimism, and not, and for me, it wasn't optimistic because in a very kind of fake, inauthentic way. There just seemed to be this optimism that he kind of had. He had Parkinson's disease, and I love the title of one of his books, "The Adventures of an Incurable Optimist." I always love that. I just something I get that you've been through positive shit, but yet you can still be optimistic. And for me, it was a very. I'm trying to think when the turning point was. The turning point was around. I started reading one of his books called Lucky Man, and I started identifying with him and identifying with his optimism while still staring in the pits of hell.
Yeah.
That certainly is the way out of this. I do remember one specific point now, and I was getting chemotherapy, and I had, obviously, as you know, I had testicular cancer, and it very nearly killed me off. It was a very fine line. It was a very extreme situation, and this was in 2012.
Wow. Yeah. I can't believe it's been that long, to be honest.
Nice. Shocking, yeah. Well, as your listeners won't have known necessarily, it was you and I were working together when I finished chemo, and I'd only finished chemo about 3 months, and I started working. That's where you and I met in where we were working, and I was very ill. But I during chemotherapy, which was, again, I say, I know it's violent, it's such a strong word, but it was violent.
Yeah.
It was a very extreme. I was hit extremely hard, and it just destroyed me. The kind of chemo I was on was very severe and very intense, and done over short periods of time.
Yeah.
It blasted the hell out of me. And there was one particular moment that it got so bad that I literally just I just didn't want to fight anymore. I couldn't fight. I had no more fight in me, or so I thought. I had nothing left in me, and
So
I just wanted.
what got you through? Like, if it's because, I
there
mean,
was this. Go on.
I'm sorry, mate. I'm talking from a very fortunate position to have not gone through anything like that.
It's
obviously,
all relative, man.
yeah, it's all relative. We've all got our own struggles, but that's cancer's something that
You've no control over, I suppose.
You just wouldn't wish upon, your worst enemies, really, because it's such a horrific disease. That,
it is, yeah. It's horrific, yeah.
I can't imagine what that would have done to your mindset and to your mental well-being. Obviously, you were very ill physically, but to be going through that mentally and still be conscious, while your body's kind of ultimately shutting down. What kind of got you through?
Well, do you know what? It was funny because there is a very specific turning point. It sounds very dramatic and all that. And I realized when I was having chemo coursing through my veins and all this kind of stuff. But it was, now that I think of it, it was that moment. And what gets you through? I suppose the thing for me was, at that point, Marcus, is that I'd already gone through just hell. My life was pretty awful. It was an awful life. And there are people out there who go through stuff that you just can't even begin to imagine. You just, how does somebody survive something like that? And I'm aware of that. And I just said to you, it's all relative. I do know that. And now I'm sort of feeling a bit like, oh, I shouldn't complain. But really, my life was just torture, trauma, and hell from pretty much the day I was born. I was born into a dysfunctional, very dysfunctional family, and a family with a lot of love, but tried to keep it together. And it was just constant struggle. My dad, he had his demons, and my mom was struggling with what you know, they'd a year previously lost a baby, and then I came along and was the saving grace, and you know, and all this kind of stuff. And then sorry, that was a couple of air quotes when I did the saving grace thing. But no, the thing is that I basically, yeah, I at that point, when I'd gotten to that turning point and that point that got me through, I'd already been through the bullying. I'd been to 14 different schools. The bullying had just destroyed me. It stripped me of everything I had. I was made feel like I was worthless. There was nothing I had to offer anyone, and I was good to nobody. You know, and I'm getting to a point here, but at that point, I'd had all of that. I'd been humiliated every day of my life, really, in a very extreme way. Physically beaten up, that kind of stuff I could handle because I can handle myself, but the emotional abuse on a daily basis, daily from the age of 5 up to the last day that I left the schooling system when I was 17.
Wow.
I think 17.
Yeah.
Every single day.
Yeah.
Every single day. Not one single day from respite. It wasn't a single day of that. And it was total and utter humiliation on a constant basis. And the point I'm trying to make here is, and I got out of the schooling system, but that was in me. That was just who I was. Wasn't worth anything, etc., etc. And then you live your life like that. But for some reason, I kept on going. So then by the time, you know, cancer came around, and then I did, you know, I was as low as I'd ever gotten in my life. I was there I'd never done any, I was never bad. I never did any bad things to people. I wasn't a bad person. But however, the kind of thought that came into my head, a lot of people would say to me during the cancer was like, you will get the feeling of, why me? Why me? Why? I've never been a bad person. I've never. And the funny thing is, it never occurred to me once until people kept on saying it. I never felt hard done by as such. I never felt that, why, why did I get this? I'm so kind and good, and I'm a nice person. I'm a good guy, and all. I never felt that, never once. I always kind of had the idea. I always felt, and gets back to Michael J. Fox. He said this sentence, and I went, "Oh my God, I get that entirely." With his Parkinson's, he was like, you know, well, why not me? Why not? I'm no better or worse than anybody else. I'm just I don't feel I deserve this, and I don't feel that I should get away with it either. You know, I feel that I'm as up to getting this as anybody is. I don't think that just because I've been a good guy all my life, it means I get away with stuff. And I don't think that being a quote unquote bad person all your life means that you should get these things. No. I think things happen, stuff will happen, and it was up to me to. I never thought that. It never occurred to me that I you know, didn't deserve this, or that I did deserve this. I just felt it happened.
Which, to be honest, is a you know, it's something to be proud of, really, because obviously I've probably navigated towards that type of victim mode where, why is this happening to me? You know, and it's taken me quite a while to get over that hurdle. So for you to kind of, you know, I mean, even find like a mentor in Michael J. Fox. I mean, what a cool cat he is.
Oh, dude, Marty McFly. Amazing.
And again, you know, his hardships of Parkinson's disease, which is a horrible disease in itself, you know, helped you through just reading his words, you know.
Well, it was kind of refining a thought process that I already had. I didn't identify it like that. I never identified as an optimist. I never identified that glass is half full. It's not half empty. I never identified. Pardon me. I never identified with that. Sorry. I hadn't identified that that's what I was within myself.
Yeah.
And when I identified with that, I suddenly realized, wow, if I can really hone in on this, there might be something. Might be something in this. And getting back to what you asked me in a very long-winded way, I do apologize.
No
but it was what got me through was there was a specific moment when the chemo was getting so extreme and my gums were bleeding, my tongue had ulcers all over them, my teeth were in agony, the pain, I can't even begin to tell you. The pain is extraordinary. There's nausea is extraordinary. You think you've been sick in your life, have chemotherapy, you'll know what sick is. It's absolutely, I mean, sick as in nausea kind of sickness. Yeah. Oh my God. You cannot begin to imagine how extreme it was. And so many people go through this, and it's just, oh, you'll have chemotherapy, you'll get through it, and cancer will be gone. You know, off on your way. It's nothing like that. It's for some people it's less challenging, etc., etc. There's, you know, but they all have their challenges in their own way.
Yeah.
But the moment for me, and I will get there, I promise. The moment for me was I was crying my eyes out in hospital. Wasn't feeling sorry for myself. Was just, I couldn't take it anymore. I simply couldn't take it anymore. I wanted it to end. I didn't want to be around anymore. I just wanted to expire at that specific moment. That was the word in my, I just want to expire. I can't have no more fight in me. I've nothing left. I've nothing left to pull me through this.
Wow. Yeah.
And whew. Anyway. So I was sat there and I was thinking to myself, this is coming at me from all directions now, and I can't do anything about this. I can do nothing about this. And this is just coursing through my veins, and I can do nothing. I can pull these things out of my arms and get up and walk away. And then I'm just, these things are going through my head. And what will I do? What am I going to do? I can't. I'm just crying my eyes out. My heart's thumping because I had a kind of reaction to it. So my heart was having issues with the chemo and the agony was running through me. And then I kind of thought, look, this is the lowest point in my life. Mm-hmm. This is the very lowest after a lifetime of just pure hell. This is the lowest point. And then I just kind of stayed with that for half an hour, and stayed with that, which was very uncomfortable. And I said, I just got to a place in my head where I thought, I'm not going to kill myself. I'm not going to do that. So what am I going to do? And I kind of put that out there, and I said, well, I kind of resigned. I surrendered to kind of, well, if the chemo works, I'm kind of curious to see if it does, because I've gotten this far during it to go through it. If I see it through, which I might as well, it better well be fucking worth it. My life better be fucking worth it.
Yeah.
I cannot continue the way I've continued. I cannot allow people to just treat me like dirt. I cannot allow myself to tell me that I'm worth nothing anymore. I cannot allow myself to be unhappy. Well, sorry, that's, you know what I mean. Yeah, obviously I'm going to be unhappy, but a continuous underlying unhappiness is permanently there. I can't keep I cannot keep going like this. Not after being through what I've just been through.
Yeah.
The chemo was kind of the icing on the cake. It was what's gone before.
Yeah.
The constant struggle every day, you know. And
wow. I mean, that's
I'd already kind of dabbled in suicide. Once when I was 8, I tried to sort of end it, and then another time, 2 other times in my life, and the thing is that I it was just that turning point. I was like, I cannot go back to I cannot allow that to continue. I've got to make my life worth it.
Yeah.
There has to be a turning point.
Wow. Okay. So that, yeah, some heavy stuff. Obviously, I've kind of heard a lot of the stories and stuff, but when you kind of lay it out, it's so powerful. It's so powerful, and I think that's, props to yourself for getting this far, and having the strength and finding the strength within someone that, must have felt like a shell at times.
Yeah.
I mean, not everyone is going to have, everyone's got a different story. Not everyone's going to have cancer.
No.
We would not wish that upon anyone. Like you say, it is. Can you say it's all relative? I guess so, because everyone's got their own struggles that they're going through.
I've always said that. It's all relative, man. My situation is no better or worse than anyone else's. It's just my situation.
So
that's the way I see it,
Are there any kind of because it's almost like what we hear about these turning points, and it usually comes from like a near-death experience. There's a lot of turning points and like life flashing before their eyes kind of things. What kind of advice would you give to someone that hasn't been through a life-threatening disease that's
that's a very good question, man.
that is really harboring a lot of the past and resentment and struggling to move forward positively, and I'm not suggesting for 1 minute that we're all happy and positive every single day of our lives, but there are things that we would have learned and picked up on the way, definitely things out of your story that you could share to maybe help someone stuck.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that's spot on, because like a lot of people ask me, had I not had the cancer, would have had kind of essentially the bones of the question is, would have had that turning point, or would have changed my life, or whatever. And the answer is probably would have gotten there eventually.
Yeah.
With cancer, it levels you off. So bear with me when I say this. People don't get it when I say this, and maybe your listeners will maybe get the idea of it. Essentially, it was kind of, I see it as a gift. Now, bearing in mind, there's been a path of tragedy and heartache and pain and suffering for people who have lost loved ones. I myself, there's people around me who I know, one of my really good friends lost his brother, 21 years of age, to cancer. So when I sit here and say this kind of thing, I'm very mindful of the pain and sadness that people have gone through. I am the lucky one here. I am the lucky one because I'm sitting here, and I'm sitting here already. I'm sitting here and I'm talking to you now. So I can say stuff like this, but I'm saying it with a real awareness of the just the sadness and the what's gone before for people and what people are going through right now. But for me, I was lucky enough to have been, to have come out the other side of this with the idea that, look, I'm through this, and I am lucky to be in a relatively decent state that I can take what I've gone through and use it to my own advantage to build and build myself up. Because it was so extreme, it kind of put my head, or I suppose I allowed myself, or I allowed myself go there. I gave myself permission to go to that headspace, to kind of say, hey, I'm going to take something from this and I'm going to use it. I'm going to, if it took so much from me, I'm going to take from it and learn as much as I possibly can.
Yeah. And
I get it wrong every single day, but I'll keep on moving forward. You know, I get things wrong, I get things right. It's one of those things, but I get your question in terms of, you know, for people who don't have that, and I would never advise anyone, far be it for me to advise anyone, but I would definitely suggest that I know friends of mine, people who are very dear to me, and I care about very much, who do just suffer with mental health, and you know, it's a question that I do hear a lot in relation to the cancer and the stuff I've been through in my life. And what I have always kind of said, and you pointed out, there is a low point for people. There is a particular point when people get to such a low place. And I've never suffered with mental health. And I think it's an incredible struggle, because I the only thing I can kind of identify with is the level of which I ruminate things, where I could get into something and I stay there and I cannot get out of it. But this before cancer, after cancer, if this is something upsetting or whatever, you know, because I'm a pretty emotional guy, I'm pretty connected with my emotions, and I'm pretty connected to, you know, I'm a sensitive dude, you know, and I'm proud of it too, but it can sometimes be the breaking of me as well, if I'm not very, very careful. But I would get into a headspace, and I struggle to get out of it. Now I get out of it, and the only thing that I have found that might be of a kind of suggestion for people is the most basic of things, which I find even difficult to do, is getting out and going for a walk.
Yeah.
Just get out of the space that you're in and go somewhere else. Never mind taking mindfulness courses, stuff that I've done. I've done some training in mindfulness. I've done all sorts of things in my life. Lots of training and lots of bettering myself, and lots of you know, self-discovery, and done huge amounts of. I've been in psychotherapy, in and out of psychotherapy most of my life, and but I guess for me, my thing was I cannot do this on my own. In certain senses, I must not do this on my own. You know, I must not do this on my own, because it's difficult enough to take the step to do something like that when you're already struggling so hard. Mm-hmm. That step to just put on your goddamn runners and go out for a fucking walk, man, is very challenging.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's, you know, like you say, it is a struggle to kind of just break out of that headspace, and
it's nearly impossible.
You know, I think from my point of going through like depression and stuff, it feels very lonely, and it feels like you're the only person on the planet with this cloud over your head.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do try to reach out, but it's almost like I've actually got a tattoo on my arm here of a guy trying to talk and no one can hear him, and that's kind of what it feels like. But it's almost like
I've had dreams like that.
Yeah, but you're telling people about your struggles, which helps in the immediate, but
Yeah, it's not the answer.
Ultimately, their words, as rich as they sound, or as rich as their intentions are in reality,
Yeah,
they come back in your ears as a depressed person as quite hollow, and
yeah.
it's a real funk to try and get out of.
Oh, it's a vicious circle, and I can identify with aspects of that big time,
Yeah.
big time. And I don't suffer with that. So,
well, the way I eventually got out of it was like
well,
there were no guardian angels coming to help me. Getting out of that victim mode was there's no one coming to help me. I've literally got to get off my backside and do it myself, and keep going day after day after day and bettering myself every day. And there were just a few penny drop moments for me where things changed, and I couldn't do it anymore. It was literally, I cannot be like this anymore, so I need to help myself ultimately. And what you're saying, to share it with other people, it's definitely a thing to do. You should definitely be talking about your struggles, but there are people out there as well without people to turn to.
now this is the thing. This is the thing. It's easy for anyone to just get out there, to say, get out there and talk, go out there and take a walk. That there, it's not. These aren't. There's no one sort of answer. And and the thing is that it's it even if you have people around you, it must be I can see the loneliness. Never mind having nobody around you. That's the loneliness is. Oh my God, I can only imagine. And the thing is that I there is that turning point, isn't there, though, where you kind of say you cannot stay here forever, but it takes that time to get to that place.
Yeah.
And God knows how much awful shite you have to go through before you get to that place.
Yeah.
And it's just by somebody listening to this podcast, and just that's, even if they're doing it right now, you're doing something about it. You don't have to be going out to seminars and just going mad doing loads of things and running marathons to sometimes it's as simple as typing something into the internet and coming across a podcast like this, and sitting down and committing time and listening and knowing, for one, you're not on your own. You're not on your own. You're not alone. There's people here who are going through this right now as we speak, and you're not on your own. That's the first thing, is realizing.
I think there's a lot of in this day and age as well. I mean, we're I'm mid 30s now. You're early 40s. There's a lot of people in this day and age where the instant gratification sold as a big thing, like with Instagram and everyone living their best life, and it kind of almost like triggers you into this kind of, why am I not feeling great right now? Why
absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. Why do I feel this bad right now? And I think it's just getting people to kind of understand that, like you just said, like just someone listening to this podcast, or just someone taking that walk today, it's a success today. It is a success because you're identifying, okay, I don't feel great right now, but I'm going to do this little thing, whether it's making yourself a cup of tea or
I'm a big believer in that.
The small little self-compassion things.
Self-compassion.
Just to kind of bring you back into a bit more of a normal day to day. Ultimately, for me, it was me versus myself every single day.
Starts with yourself.
Yeah, exactly. So
you see, that the thing is, and I admire that. Like, I think it's great, and I suppose I'd be conscious or be mindful of the fact that, in some senses, that might seem like the most terrifying thing in the world, because somebody who's down that low may already think that they're not good enough. And if, well, that's great, because if it starts with me, well, then I'm fucked, because I can't keep myself up, let alone, trying to fight this issue that I have as well on top of it. But the thing is, I think if you have, and it's the tiny, tiny, tiny things that seem so insignificant. If you are opening your eyes in the morning and you take that breath and you keep on breathing in and out every day, never mind going on the internet and seeking out issues to solve depression or whatever, podcasts or whatever. If you are just doing that one thing, for me, sorry, answering your question, I think suggestion or advice is starting to empower yourself and realizing that although it starts with you, and that might scare you, because it would probably scare me.
Yeah.
Because I didn't think anything of myself. Oh, I can't. I'm not worth anything. I can't do a damn thing for anything, for anyone or myself. So I'm fucked. But the thing is that if you can just acknowledge and see that it's starting with yourself is actually putting you in a place of empowerment, self-empowerment, that you actually do have the ability, you just don't see it. And I'm not saying go be positive and yay me and yay life. I'm just saying recognize within yourself that your eyes opened this morning and you continued breathing throughout the day. That is enough of a struggle for some people.
Yeah.
To just achieve that.
Yeah. And to be honest, sorry to put in there, mate.
Go ahead.
With that comes, for this kind of instant gratification world that we live in right now, all of the people that have achieved all of these great things and are supposedly living a really happy, great life, they've
come from something.
They've all come through struggles, and literally something as small as what you're saying, like opening your eyes in the morning and actually taking a breath, you just to kind of think of how actually amazing that is. Even on like such a small level, it's so big.
It's huge.
That breath that we're breathing in is keeping us alive.
And you're choosing to continue breathing throughout the day. You've made the choice, whether you realize it or not. You've actually made the choice not to stop.
And it's breathing. Something we don't think about. It's something you really don't think about. You don't think about breathing.
No, we don't.
It's actually giving you life. The air around
it is
you life,
and you're allowing it to do that. And I know this is all so positive and so amazing and great. But realize that for anyone who's listening right now, and for you and for me, because I got to remind myself the same things. Because I woke up yesterday morning, I didn't feel good. And I talked about it, which was difficult for me because I still struggle at times with trying to be that positive, optimistic guy with a big smile on his face and don't bring anybody down, because I don't want to lose any friends.
Yeah.
Because I haven't had friends is something that's still quite a new concept to me. I didn't grow up with friends. I didn't have any friends. I had one mate, and I'm lucky to have had him, because if I didn't have him, I don't know what I had done. But my really good buddy, and I've known him since I was 8. But oh god, here's me in one of my tangents again. God damn it, Darryn. What was I saying? The hell was I saying? Oh, Beck.
Well, it was before you woke up this morning, or when you woke up yesterday?
Oh yeah, sorry, yeah. The thing is that it is very great and all this positive stuff, and it is great and all, but it's about doing those tiny, tiny, tiny things, about acknowledging, not going, yay, I'm amazing, or maybe doing that. If that helps someone, great. But just at least, if it's a struggle to do at least this, do this much. acknowledge within yourself that you're allowing yourself to breathe as the day continues. You're allowing yourself that. That's empowerment. You can't just end it, but you've made the choice to continue.
Yeah.
And that's extraordinary levels of bravery.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I admire anyone who can just do that.
Yeah.
And
I
then
think
deal with
just getting over that first hurdle.
Yeah.
For anyone that's really lost in a funk, just getting over that first hurdle.
Yeah.
It's then you can use that to propel yourself onto the next stage. You know, for me, my next stage was, I don't want to feel like this anymore. Therefore, I'm going to make it my mission to not feel like that. So what are the things that I can, anything you can get your hands on, whether it's a silly book that's got a silly title, like Make Me Happy, or, you know, anything that you can just leverage for yourself to propel yourself in that direction. That book might not be the book that's going to save your, you know, well, it will save your life ultimately if you kind of take a word or two out of it.
Well, that's true.
But yeah, you're heading in the right direction. You don't need to be at that destination right now. It's just
no. That's the thing.
And you're just going on it. And as long as you're keeping in the same direction and not kind of not getting dragged back down into the pits of hell of your own despair, you know, you're on to the right path, really. So
well, it's interesting because I mean that one is particular for anybody, for any of us in the world. It's just to remember that big deal, I'm breathing, big fucking deal. Well, life is really fucking difficult. Even if it's good, it's really difficult to navigate emotionally. And sometimes that is a big thing, to just keep on breathing. But we take it so for granted, we forget to give ourselves kudos for actually continuing taking each step. But another thing I suppose I'm thinking about is the people who are armed with the knowledge and the ability to kind of see the light, the light's there somewhere, I can kind of see it. I just can't get out of this fucking place. I keep on I still not landing myself, but I keep on getting back to here. I take a few steps forward and I'm kind of getting somewhere, but then like a couple of days later, I'm back in that place again, and it's a repeating thing. It keeps on repeating itself, and that's, I would say, quite a common thing with people that suffer with depression or anxiety or any of these struggles in life. It's the people who are seen to be functioning in their day to day, and that can be just as much of a lonely place, because the loneliness must be incredible. But the thing I would say to people like that is that you must recognize at least one thing that you are doing. You know, you are doing so much, and it's not the immediate trigger answer that, oh yeah, God, look at me, I'm functioning, going to work, and I'm doing this, I'm doing that, and all that. It's not the immediate answer, but it's at the very least, it's acknowledging within yourself that, okay, I'm functioning to a degree.
I mean, what you just mentioned there with you can kind of see the light. A good friend of mine once said to me, and this was another one of those penny drop moments where when someone just articulates it in words and you actually your brain's able to digest something. He said, the light at the end of the tunnel is you are the light. And when I really understood that, I was brilliant. Like, geez, like,
that's brilliant.
Because you're constantly striving for that light, but it's actually you're the one.
Yeah, I totally agree. You've like, and this again can be a scary thing and a very empowering thing, but you have all the answers.
Yeah.
we inhabit, every one of us. There's not one person out there who's got an extra special pass that they somehow avoided this, or they don't have this because they're not worth it. Every single human on planet Earth has the answer themselves. And that sounds very Cartolian and very big and very, but it is true. We actually do have the answers, and your friend is spot on. You are the light standing at the end of the tunnel. And there's something kind of soothing about that for me. I kind of see, it's actually even helped me, that has. I mean,
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, these are the things that when I was severely in the midst of depression and the cloud was over me, it's that kind of feeling of I am mentally ill, and
it's the acceptance.
It's inside of me, and I can't get rid of it. And when I started to really understand, like the word surrender, for instance, for me was a big one. Like literally it is that acceptance. You're just accepting
total surrender to the acceptance.
Yeah, you're just accepting what is, and
very difficult.
It's up to you to kind of move forward out of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think we've touched on a few really cool things there, really positive things. And obviously, man, I think you're amazing. I'll tell you all the time, I think you're amazing. But just hearing your story, a snippet of your story, we haven't gone into all the kind of depths of details and stuff. But
the darker elements, you know the story anyway. For a bastard.
It was amazing, and what you've achieved coming out of it is absolutely amazing. And that's coming from my heart as well, man. We've been friends,
brother,
a long time now. So
yeah, man, proud of it.
Probably the friend that I chat to the most, sending each other voice notes on WhatsApp. So, yeah. But I mean, if there's anything else that you want to share before we nip this one in the bud, just for anyone that's maybe still on the fence, or maybe just needs that kick up the backside to kind of even just make this day a success for them. Is there anything else that you've got in your tank for us today, man? I know you've shared a lot with us, so.
Well, it's nothing but a pleasure. I mean, the thing is, I'm thinking of a couple of people that I know, and knowing the struggles that they go through, which is, it's difficult, because it makes me think we're here, and it's a very positive, uplifting conversation, and I'm also aware that this conversation ends, and I go off and you go off, and that person goes off, and they go on about the rest of their day, and they still have to deal with the struggles. They're still there, and I'm very aware of that. And I suppose what would the kind of the fundamental thing I would say is that just remember that when this ends, this podcast ends, well, you can go back to it 100 times, whatever, if you want to. If you're a glutton for punishment and listen to my becking rabbiting on. No, seriously though, I mean, if this is, obviously that this is there for you to listen to over and over again, but one thing I would just say is just this call will end. I'll go on my day, Marcus will go on his day, and you'll go on your day, and just always bear in mind and always acknowledge that you are not the only one that is suffering, and you are not alone in this. And there is a lot of us out there who and it doesn't always have to be people with mental health. It can be just your normal everyday person. We all struggle, and some people it's a much more challenging, painful, difficult struggle, and and others it might seem that it's less of a struggle. It is all relative. Your situation is no less of a situation, and what you're going through is no, it doesn't, it's no less. So acknowledge that this is difficult for you, and also acknowledge the strength it took to still continue walking one foot in front of the other, getting up in the morning, choosing to get up in the morning, and choosing to breathe in and out as the day goes on, and choosing to to try and sit with the uncomfortable, because my God, it's sitting with the uncomfortable, and actually it's very takes real strength and courage and bravery to sit with the uncomfortable.
Man. I think for me, just based on what you were saying there, you know, just learning to be with yourself, as hard and uncomfortable as that is, because it's a noisy place. That's been
very noisy.
It's been one of the most eye-opening and progressive things that I've ever done. Just learning to sit with my thoughts and acknowledge them and listen to them, and just seeing where they're actually coming from as well, and how ridiculous they actually are, and, you know, having a conversation with your thoughts, you know.
And it's two things as well that I feel is important to acknowledge as well. Two things. Trust yourself. Trust in your own self. Trust in your own. Trust that you have that light at the. Trust that you are the light at the end of the tunnel. Trust that you have what it takes. Give it a go. You'll see that you have what it takes. And secondly, my goodness, you just don't be ashamed. Don't be on your own with this one. Don't, and even if you are on your own, find some way to communicate to people, and talk and share. Join an online group. Do something for yourself. So, you know, and these are the two things. Trust that you do have what it takes. You know, trust that, and you know, don't be ashamed, and, you know, to talk about this. You know, you'll find there are a lot of people out there who know exactly what you're going through.
Yeah, wicked. Well, thanks, Darryn. Thanks a lot for that.
You're very welcome, man. It's a pleasure.
Speak to you and get your thoughts on everything and share positivity. Yeah, definitely. Hopefully, there's, you know, the listeners are getting something from this, and, you know, just even improving their hour while listening to this. Hopefully we've managed to do that. So but yeah, thanks a lot, Darryn.
Very welcome, man.
Yeah, hope everything's gonna go well after this phone call, and staying positive. So but thanks a lot, man. I really appreciate this, and
man, it's
extremely grateful.